No one ever told you that after the age of 40, a silent thief begins to operate within your body, stealing your strength, your vitality, and your health one day at a time. Welcome, my friends. Professor Vitalis here with your daily dose of wisdom and wellness, where science and experience walk hand in hand. Today, we are going to confront this thief directly. It's a condition called sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle. And it's crucial that you stay with me until the very end of our discussion, because I will not only give you a handful of tips, I will reveal a complete 4-part framework, combining nearly century-old wisdom with the latest breakthroughs in biochemistry, that will empower you to protect and even rebuild this vital foundation of your health for years to come. Let's begin with the hard truth. After the age of 40, every single one of us, regardless of gender, begins to lose muscle tissue. The rate is somewhere between 3 to 8% every decade. Now, that might sound like a small, abstract number, but let's do the math. Over 30 years, by the time you reach your 60s or 70s, you could have lost nearly a third of your body's muscle mass. You might think, so what? I'm not a bodybuilder. But this is where the modern understanding of the human body changes everything. We have now proven, without a shadow of a doubt, that your muscles are not just for lifting and moving. They are a dynamic endocrine organ. Think of them as a massive, powerful gland that, when activated, produces a cascade of beneficial proteins. These proteins are essential for maintaining your physical strength, preserving the muscles themselves, and even restoring the balance of your endocrine and immune systems. So when we talk about losing muscle, we're not just talking about becoming weaker. We're talking about the slow shutdown of one of the most important life-sustaining systems in your body. This gradual decay, this sarcopenia, is a disease. And today we're going to understand how it happens, why it happens, and what you can do to stop it. So why does this happen? Why do we lose muscle as we age, even if we feel we are still moving about? The answer lies in a fundamental principle, a law of nature, first articulated by the great physiologist Orszewski back in the 1960s. He called it the law of functional atrophy from disuse. He discovered it studying newborns, but it applies to us throughout our entire lives. The less you challenge a biological system, the fewer resources your body will allocate to maintain it. It's a simple, brutal economy. If you don't use it, you lose it. Let me give you an example we can all relate to. Think about your memory. We no longer memorize phone numbers, addresses, or routes through a city. We have apps for that. What's the result? Our collective memory has become noticeably weaker. Let me ask you a simple question. How many poems did you learn by heart in the last year? The silence is often the answer. Memory is a function, and when it goes unused, it withers. The exact same thing happens to your muscles. But when we lose muscle, we lose something far more critical than just brute strength. We lose their function as an endocrine organ. You see, evolution designed our muscular system to be active from our first breath to our last, and it packed this system with an enormous number of beneficial functions. But here's the key. These functions are only switched on during exertion. When your muscle cells, your myocytes, are put under stress, they begin to produce a vast array of life-giving proteins. We now know of over 200 of them, and we call them myokines. When these myokines are released into your bloodstream, even from just a few minutes of intense activity, they immediately go to work, creating favorable changes in every organ and system in your body. It has been proven that myokines restore the function of neurons in the brain, improve the connections between them, and enhance blood supply, directly boosting your cognitive functions. They improve the function of all your endocrine glands, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the adrenal cortex, the thyroid. This is the biochemical reason behind the age-old advice that physical activity improves health. We're simply explaining the how. The same goes for the immune system. Myokines enhance the effectiveness of our immune cells through multiple biochemically proven pathways. So, as we age and our activity levels decline, the production of these wonderfully beneficial proteins plummets. But unfortunately, your muscles don't just go to sleep. They don't simply become dormant. When they are not working, they begin to produce the polar opposite of myokines. Remembering Orszewski's law of disuse, inactive muscles begin to secrete harmful proteins into your bloodstream called myostatins. We've known about these for over 2 decades, and their effect is the exact opposite of myokines. They actively degrade the function of your endocrine system. How does this show up in your body? Insulin resistance. The receptors on your muscle cells become less sensitive to insulin. That crucial receptor, GLUT4, which should be on the surface of the cell membrane to pull in glucose for energy, actually retreats inside the cell under the influence of myostatin. Your fat cells also become insulin resistant. Your nervous system and immune system begin to function less effectively. It becomes clear that we cannot remain in a state of equilibrium. We are either actively improving or we are passively declining. This discovery is a call to action. We have over 400 muscles in our body, accounting for a third to nearly half of our total body mass. We must either make a consistent effort to preserve this dynamic endocrine organ, or we will lose it, with all the fatal consequences that follow. So how do we tip the scales in our favor? How do we get more of the good myokines and less of the bad myostatins? The question is not a fantasy. It is the central question for living well in the 21st century. The answer is beautifully straightforward. First, you must engage in either high-intensity interval training or strength training. Depending on your current fitness level, age, and overall health, 1 or 2 such sessions per week is the goal. This is non-negotiable. Second, when you place this demand on your body, you must provide it with the right raw materials. This means adjusting your nutrition, particularly on training days. I consistently recommend increasing your protein intake to a range of 1.5 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, and you must strategically include carbohydrates. Carbohydrates trigger insulin, and insulin is a powerful anabolic hormone that helps drive nutrients into the muscle cells for growth and repair. This is a nuanced topic, but the principle is crucial. Third, you must recover. Recovery means getting an adequate number of hours of deep sleep. It is only during deep sleep that the mitochondria in your muscle cells can truly repair themselves. Any intense training session, by its very nature, produces a surge of reactive oxygen species, or free radicals. This isn't a bad thing, it's a normal physiological response. The problem is one of dosage. A training session should be a stimulus, not a source of overwhelming oxidative stress that destroys your mitochondria. That is why recovery is paramount. Here is a fascinating fact. Every single mitochondrion in every one of your 100 trillion plus cells produces its own melatonin at night. Why would a mitochondrion in your calf muscle need to make melatonin? The brain's melatonin signals sleep, but the mitochondrion's melatonin is a potent, localized antioxidant. It's there to neutralize the free radicals from the day's work, repair its own mitochondrial DNA, and restore the enzymes of the respiratory chain so it's ready to produce energy at full capacity the next day. No sleep, no recovery, no progress. And fourth, an element that is tragically missing from our modern diet: polyphenols and polyprenols. These are the powerful compounds found in colorful plants, herbs, and vegetables. That sad-looking winter greenery in the supermarket is better than nothing, but it's a pale imitation of what nature provides. From spring until late autumn, your plate should be filled with greens and vegetables. Why? Because these polyphenols have been proven to do 2 things. They act as direct antioxidants, and more importantly, they activate the synthesis of our body's own, far more powerful endogenous antioxidants. These are enzymes like superoxide dismutase, catalase, and the entire glutathione system. These are your frontline soldiers, neutralizing the vast majority of free radicals right where they are produced, inside the mitochondria. The antioxidants we hear about most, like vitamin C or coenzyme Q10, are the second line of defense. They work as scavengers in the bloodstream and intercellular space. But to protect the engine of your cells, you need to activate your innate defenses, and that comes from a diet rich in plant life. My own breakfast this morning was built on a huge bed of salad greens, topped with an egg, some tomato, and some home-cured meat, along with my 1 permitted cup of coffee with coconut milk. This isn't just because it's tasty and beautiful. It is a conscious act of providing my body with the tools it needs to recover and thrive. A restored muscle is a muscle ready to produce myokines. Now, as I promised, let's tie this all together. Nearly 90 years ago, a biologist named Erwin Bauer wrote a book called Theoretical Biology. In it, he laid out 4 key principles for robust health. Decades later, our modern biochemistry has proven him right. The 4 pillars are: first, periodic fasting; second, exposure to cold; third, hypoxia, or a temporary lack of oxygen, which can be achieved through simple breath-holding exercises; and fourth, the very thing we've been discussing, strength training. When you add these ancient, powerful stimuli of fasting, cold, and hypoxia to a consistent strength training routine, the positive changes you will see in 7 to 10 days can be remarkable. I see it in my own practice. The best example I can give you this year is a man I work with who is approaching 50. This past April, he ran a 240-kilometer 5-day marathon across the Sahara Desert. When he first proposed this goal, I admit I was hesitant. It seemed an almost superhuman feat. But he was determined, and we built a plan rooted in these very principles. His success is a testament to their power. This foundation allows him to run a demanding business, travel constantly across time zones, and live a life of incredible energy and purpose. It is the bedrock upon which all other success is built. Knowledge only works when you apply it. I'm Professor Vitalis. Stay curious, stay healthy, and never stop learning.